Hey there. I have a special guest with me here today, Miss Phoebe, also affectionately known as the Busy Kitten or Bizou. And so she just wanted to stop by and say hi before she goes off somewhere to make mischief, I'm sure. I'm so happy to be with you today, and I just wanted to share a story about a little adventure I had today. I have loved books as long as I can remember, and I love everything about books. I love the way they smell, I love the way they feel in my hands. Everything about them delights me. And some of my fondest memories of my childhood are going to my neighborhood library and curling into a chair in the cool basement on my way home from school and reading book after book after book, checking out a huge stack of books and dragging them home and keeping them in a pile on my bed and just devouring them as quickly as I could. So I've always had a very special relationship with books and often get very emotionally attached to my books, if I'm honest about it. So getting rid of books is something that has always challenged me. However, as a writer and an editor, I tend to accumulate a lot of books, especially copies of the books that I have personally worked on. And I delight in every single one of those because the authors and I and everyone else on the publishing team has spent so much time and energy to bring these books into existence. However, when you've been in the industry as long as I have, that also means that you are accumulating a very large number of books. And my family and I are considering moving, and anyone who has moved multiple times in their life, if they have a large library, you know and understand and appreciate what an undertaking that is to move many books. I actually didn't even know how many books I have in my library, but I realized that I needed to pare down my collection before we move. So today, I actually took the books that I decided to remove from my collection to this wonderful used bookstore that sells many other used and new items here in Nashville called McKay's. And they take the books, they assess them, and they give you either a cash value that you can take the cash or you can take store credit. And they give you either those options and you decide. So I had a collection of about 150 books that I was taking down there, which is approximately half of my current book collection. Of course, now that's no longer my book collection. My book collection has been halved. And so it's just interesting to me because there was definitely a time when it emotionally, it would have been very hard for me to release those books and to let them go. And one reason I think at this juncture in my life, it's easier for me to let go of those books. One is because I know that I'm probably not going to have time to read any of those books ever again. I did keep some that I've read before, but most of the books I've already read, I decided to release back into the world. And another thought that played into my ability to release these particular books is a quote I heard, and I wish I could remember who said it because I would love to attribute it to them. But the gist of the quote was, if you no longer love something, if you're no longer using something, if you have something that's no longer blessing you, then in the interest of being a good steward, you should release that item into the world so that it can bless someone else. And that, more than anything else I've ever heard from any of the decluttering or cleaning experts, really resonated with me because the concept of stewardship is something that is very meaningful to me. Obviously, my entire brand is Steward, right? It's the word steward. So obviously, yes, I am very fond of that word, and it is something I incorporate into my life in various and sundry ways. So in the interest of being a good steward of my book collection, in addition to being a good steward of the literary community, to me, it made sense to say goodbye to these particular books and to release them into the world so that they can be a blessing to someone else. I just have visions of some of those books. Someone is walking down the aisle at McKay's and looking for something, maybe something particular, maybe something they don't know that they want or need, but they happen to see one of my books on the shelf And maybe it's something they've been looking for and they're so excited to find a copy of it there. Or maybe it's something they didn't know they wanted or needed, and they see the title on the spine and think, huh, that book sounds interesting. And they take it off and realize, oh my goodness, this is just the book I need right now. And I will tell you, that thought really excites me. So for all of my fellow bibliophiles out there, especially those of you who are struggling to perhaps let go of some of your collection, I'm not telling you must or need to do that. But what I am saying is that if you ever get to a place where you must get rid of not only books, quite honestly, but anything in your life, that if you need to let go of certain physical material objects in your life, perhaps think of it from a stewardship mindset. Am I being a good steward of these items? And what color should that look like? And this is whether it's books or clothes or items in your kitchen, movies, jewelry, furniture, whatever it is. Just think of how, if I let this go, how this could possibly be a blessing to some other person. And like I said, for me, that has actually been a very helpful and, quite frankly, revolutionary way to think of my material possessions. Because at the end of the day, we are stewards of everything, right? We're even stewards of the bodies that our spirits dwell within, that his spirit dwells within. So I just encourage you that if this is an area of struggle for you, that adopting a different mindset might be a pathway forward. I can tell you, having done this very day, that it actually is very liberating to have lightened the physical and material load that I currently carry. And I have no regrets about that. And if I do, quite frankly, I guess I could always buy the book back at some point. I have been known to do that. I've gotten a lot better about not doing that over the years, and I hope that I will not do that this time either. I have to laugh at myself about these things. We all have our little foibles, I know, and I am certainly no exception to that. So, like I said, I just wanted to share that story with you, and perhaps my thoughts and philosophy around stewarding our material possessions will be of help to you or perhaps to someone in your life. Is this something you struggle with? If so, I would love to hear about it. And if you've been able to overcome a tendency to want to hold on to material things, I would love to hear how the Lord has helped you overcome that tendency. And as always, may the Lord bless you this day and always.